a tip as well, guys, which probably I should have been doing, but because when you're actually accepted with a new job that you're applying, I find this to be super common, like in whichever interview you're attending. So think about it. Hey guys, it's Danica and welcome back to my channel. To those who are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Danica. I'm a registered nurse in the Philippines and also here in the UK. If you're new here in this channel, then I encourage you to click on the subscribe button below and the bell button beside it so that you will be notified every time that we have an update. So guys, for today's video, we will be talking about NHS interview questions for nurses. So if you're a midwife or a doctor or something else, this might not be the perfect video for you, so you can skip this one. So to those who doesn't know me yet, I'm actually working as a nurse in the UK now for 3 years and more. So this interview questions will be about you know, when I had my interviews before, I feel like these are the common interviews they would be asking you guys, and also the tips as well in attending your interview, and I'm gonna say what to expect in your interview. So yeah, we'll all be tackling those things, and if you have further questions later on, you can actually comment down below. So yes, if you guys are interested in this video, then please keep on watching. Alright, so let's begin. So probably you'll be asking me, so where do I see this job openings? So when you're already here in the UK, you can actually just search it on your trust website, whichever hospital you're working. There would be a website for us, it's called Icon, so you can see it there, like vacancies and recruitment. You can see there which department has their openings. But if you want to actually transfer trust, you can just Google it. It's just gonna be very easy, and you need to make an account with Track Jobs. You click that apply now, and the job that you're interested will be redirected, so you will have your account there. So yes. Alright, so one thing to remember before you can transfer department, if you're just looking to change jobs in the same trust, you need to be working on that department for 6 months before you actually can transfer to another department, and you need to render 2 months as well from the date that you said you're gonna be resigning. So you can just email your manager. Sometimes they don't require a physical letter, so they can just tell you, you can just email us and stuff. So yes, a tip as well, guys, which probably I should have been doing, but because when you're actually accepted with a new job that you're applying, it's gonna take some time as well, because basically transferring to another department is just like properly, like, you know, doing all the stuff necessary for like a new job basically. So they need to do checks and stuff, but I guess it's easier if you're in the same trust anyway, because they have your records. So yes, it will take some time, so try not to resign until they said like it's okay, like you've had this like preliminary checks and stuff. So try not to submit your resignation letter, but the only thing about that is your transfer would be delayed if you really want to move departments. Like for me, before I transferred to iClinic, when they said yes, when they said I got the job, after the interview, I immediately submitted my resignation letter, which I shouldn't have really, but anyway, I'm pretty sure it should be fine because it's just the same trust. So yes, was able to transfer quickly then. Anyway, so much for that. So now let's dig into the interview questions, which I know you've been wanting to hear about. So the first one will always be, introduce yourself and why should we hire you? So just a tip when they say like introduce yourself, because before one of the interviews I attended to, I was trying to just say a bit of myself, which is already in what they've actually have, like the information about you, your age, and how long have you been a nurse and stuff like that. So she said like, tell me something like, for example, your hobbies and things that are not yet on the application that you've submitted, and just make it brief. Actually, that should be fine. And why should we hire you? I guess we have different ways on how to answer that. You can say like you're hardworking and stuff, and you've got the experience, so those things. And then next one, you could be asked about clinical governance as well, which is very common, so make sure to know what clinical governance is. Next one would be your strengths and weaknesses. I find this to be super common, like in whichever interview you're attending, so think about it. Me, with my strength, I did say about being able to work under great pressure. And then for the weaknesses, I'd say dealing with difficult patients, which I said I'm working at it anyway. And then next one would be skills that you have that would actually be useful for the job, for the current job that you're applying. So before, for example, I was in A&E and then I'm transferring to eye clinic. For example, cannulation and doing bloods and those things. Whichever is relevant from what you already have as a skill, you can say that. So try to remember those things as well. The next one would be, how do you keep up to date with trainings, or what trainings have you had? So very important. So try to mention the mandatory trainings that you have here in the UK, and also keeping up to date with it, because here you need to have like 100% in your mandatory training. So you can say about that, and if you remember any current trainings that's relevant, you can say that too. You can also add that you've been actually, you know, self-studying as well at home, watching videos and stuff on how to do things, so something like that. And then you can also be asked about, what are you most proud of in your career? So before, I did say that being able to work here as a nurse in the UK, because it's difficult, you know, there's a lot of tests that you need to pass, and you know, you need to cope in a different country, so you can say that if it's your first time going abroad, or anything else that you can think of. And they can also ask about your nursing career and your previous job, so you just need to tell them about that, because they just want to know more about your, you know, background in nursing, so all those stuff. So I'd say these questions, personal questions, would be at the beginning of your interview, and then you're gonna be moving to situational questions, which is very common. Again, this will be depending on which, you know, department you're applying. For example, if you're applying in stroke, they'll probably ask you situations about, you know, what will happen if the patient had stroke, like what's the pathway and things like that. But there are two things I've actually put in here. The first one that's very common is dealing with difficult patients, which is, you know, when I was asked about it, and then she was saying like, what if a patient has been waiting long and stuff like that, and then I said, that sounds real life to me, because that's what happens in A&E. So okay, you might be asking like, what did I answer then with dealing with difficult patients? So I told the one who's interviewing me that I always stay calm and try not to argue with the patient, and I try my best to explain of the situation, but I will escalate it to my band 6 if I couldn't handle it anymore. I think the most important word there is escalate, if you can't handle it yourself anymore. If you're applying as a band 6, so of course the answer with this would be different, but yeah, always try to escalate if you can. And the second one I've written as a general, like, situational question is, how do you deal with pressure? It's pretty common that they ask you about this, because at the moment there's a lot of pressure with the NHS. So what I've answered with this one is, I always try to prioritize what's the most important things to do, because no, you can't do everything, but at least you've done what's really most important. So like that. But then again, with the situational questions, it actually differs. So try to research about the job, what you're really applying to. For example, research, they might ask you what's the latest research that you've read, or they're gonna be asking you for a valid consent. So things that are basic with research. And yes, if you don't really know about the job role, for example, like going to a discharge lounge or things like that, try to research what's really the responsibilities and roles that you're gonna be expected to do on that role. So yeah. Alright guys, and lastly, they would always ask you at the end of your interview like what your questions are for them. So it's actually difficult, but I would normally just ask for like what will be the shifts, and did I ask before like what trainings are available for my developmental growth, something like that. So you can ask those questions to them. And guys, don't forget to bring an ID as well, a valid ID to be presented in your interview, because they would ask that at the end. I'd say bring your biometric residence permit for that, or any valid ID really, that's fine. Just an initial like identity check for you, something like that. Normally with the interviews here, it would just take 15 minutes. I think that's quite long enough. They don't really ask like super lots of questions as far as my experience is concerned. I'd say most of them are really nice, like they don't really try to intimidate you, and they would smile at you, unlike in the Philippines where it's very intense and stuff like that. So yeah, and for the result of the interview, normally they would call after a few hours, so you should hear from them within the day if you got the job or not. They would normally ring you for that. So to end this video, let me just say, if you're applying for a new job, just try to read about the job or the job role that you're gonna be applying to, and make sure you know what are your roles and responsibilities. And also, I'm gonna say, try to research as well, Google online. There's different kinds of questions, just to, you know, prepare yourself for, you know, worst comes to worst. Because before, when I attended the interview, I didn't know they're gonna be asking about clinical governance. So yes, but this is just based on my experience. You could be asked about the 6 C's of nursing here, so just about the basics, and like safeguarding as well, or mental health. Those things could be asked, but again, it's really difficult to know what your employer would be asking you, so it's very helpful that you do a research yourself as well. Try to Google and try to just, you know, answer it. And yes, try to rehearse it. Before I actually had my interview, I tried to, like, you know, answer the question silently, talking to myself. You know, it does help. So yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and find it helpful. Again, comment down below if you have any questions, and to those who just had their interviews, maybe you can put it down as well if I haven't mentioned it. So yes, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you again in my next one. Bye!